Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 8, verse 17. Thank you. The chapter is entitled Questions by King Parikshit. Asking questions to Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vedavyas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. Also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages. Please repeat. Please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. And also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord. In different ages. Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, although non-different from Him, are emanations from the Supreme. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the great and learned sage Sukadeva Goswami about the different activities of such incarnations so that the incarnation of the Lord might be confirmed by his activities in the authoritative scriptures. Maharaj Parikshit was not to be carried away by the sentiments of the common man to accept an incarnation of the Lord very cheaply. Instead, he wished to accept the incarnation of the Lord by symptoms mentioned in the Vedic literatures and confirmed by an acharya like Sukadeva Goswami. The Lord descends by his internal energy without any obligation to the laws of material nature, and thus his activities are also uncommon. The specific activities of the Lord are mentioned, and one should know that the activities of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical due to being on the absolute plane. Thus, to hear the activities of the Lord means to associate with the Lord directly, and association with the Lord directly means purification from material contamination. We have already discussed the point in the previous volume. Questions by King Parikshit. So King Parikshit actually saw the Supreme Lord when he was in the womb of his mother. And therefore, when he came out of the womb, he was actually searching after this Supreme Personality of Godhead who had saved him from the Brahmastra of Aswatam. So here he wants to know the nature of the material world, the nature, how the Lord, his potency of creation, and his potency of expansions. Ete chamsa kalapum sam Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridyanti Yuge Yuge. In the first canto, Sukadeva Goswami is describing that the Supreme Lord appears many, many trillions of times, just as waves in the ocean form. Nanavatarama karad bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma himself, one of the 12 Mahajans, he's describing that the Lord, he appears in so many millennia. This Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. It's a very tiny space of time in the background of the entire life of Lord Brahma, which is 311 trillion years. And one day of Brahma is comprised of 4,300,000,000 years. And there's 1,000 Divya Yugas in that day. And a Divya Yuga is comprised of Treta, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and then the dark age of Kali Yuga in which we find ourselves today, chanting Hare Krishna. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna, Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtane Prayer, Yajanti Hi Shumeda Shah. That those persons who are endowed with a little bit of intelligence in the age of Kali, they will start looking out, where is the absolute truth? They'll be sick and tired of being cheated by these atheistic demons. Krishna calls them Rakshashim Asurim Jaiva Prakritim Prakritim Shritaha. That these rascals, like Prabhupada, every day he went on a morning walk, he would bring up the scientists. Because, as we know, science has become the sacred mode of knowing. It's become the sacred mode of knowing. And they call themselves, in America, the big scientists, in Oxford and Cambridge and England, they call themselves the Boston Brahmins, the Brahmins. And their underlying philosophy is, we only accept those things which we can see under our instruments of technology. Our microscopes, they have a big telescope, Hubble telescope in California, named after Mr. Hubble. And so they keep speculating. Basically, they say the universe now is expanding because they found that the light, as it travels throughout the galaxies, with their Hubble telescope, they found the light expands, called the red shift. And so they extrapolate backwards and said, it must have been a big explosion. 15 billion years ago, there was an explosion. And their theory is order comes from chaos. It's called the Big Bang Theory. So, unfortunately, they dominate the world today. People put their faith in science. And when they say science, actually, the Greeks, this is a Greek word, and science comes from the root, etymological root, to know. So basically, science simply means to know what is the truth. What is the truth? And so it's fine that we can study and try to find out what is the truth of life. What is my purpose in life? This is philosophy. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And why is there suffering? So we accept the authorities of the Mahajanas. Swayambhu, Narada Shambhu, Kumaram Kapilo Manu, Pralado, Janako Bhishmo, Vayam Vayasaki, Balir Vayasaki Vayam. That these are self-realized souls. They're in direct contact with the Supreme Lord. As Prabhupada said, when Sanjaya was speaking to Dhritarashtra in Hastinapur, he could see the battle of Kurukshetra, which was miles and miles away. Sanjaya Uvacha Dharmaksetra Kurukshetra Samaveta Yuyutsava, within his heart. So we accept Krishna as the supreme authority and his representatives, the Mahajans, that they are the supreme authorities. And they're describing the cosmology. And Prabhupada, of course, he wanted us to build a planetarium here in Mayapur, where it's depicted the structure of the whole universe, this one universe, which of which Lord Brahma is the highest being, and then the lower planets, and then there is the Garbhodak water, which is 4 billion miles deep, and then who is supporting this universe is Ananta Shesh, who is an expansion of Shankar. There are 4 quadruple expansions emanating from Lord Balaram. So we accept these explanations of the Lord. We don't accept the mental speculation of the materialistic scientists. And Srila Prabhupada was very, very emphatic about defeating these atheistic scientists who are simply driving the people in the wrong direction. They're driving them towards, as he said, patanti narakesucha, driving them downwards to the hellish life and creating so much chaos in the world today with their scientific discoveries and so on. So, unfortunately, the world is overrun by this atheism, and Prabhupada said the 2 enemies of the modern day enemies, the 2 philosophies or ideas, is Darwin's theory of evolution and the theory of Karl Marx, communism. And then another one he mentioned was Sigmund Freud, the idea that you shouldn't have any conscience about what you do. Just do whatever you want, gratify your senses, right? Chintamapayamam cha pralayantam upashiraha. Enjoy your senses till the end of life. Kama paboga parama, patanti narake, and glide down to hell. So the problem is that with this scientific enterprise, they assume that all reality can be reduced down to its basic building blocks. It's called reductionism. And positivism, that I can see all reality through my microscope. Unfortunately, the great sages say that we have 4 defects. So every human being has these 4 defects: imperfect senses, a tendency to make mistakes, always in illusion, and a cheating propensity. And these people, the leaders of society, all Prabhupada's purports, he's blasting these leaders, whether they're political leaders or leaders of so-called elite knowledge, they call them the knowledge elites. They're cheating the people. They're lying to them that you can get some matter and produce life. Amino celluli, life has to come from life. As one person who believes in a creator said, molecules don't care about life. His name is Dr. James Tour at Rice University in Houston, Texas. And he believes in God, and he is one of the top chemists in the world. He has developed so many various nanotechnologies. He says molecules don't care about life. Show me, like Prabhupada said, I give you all the chemicals. In fact, I'll give you a dead body right now with everything's, the body just died a second ago. Now breathe life back into it. Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahuranishvaram aparasparam samyutam kimascharma taparam. In the 16th chapter, Krishna is saying that they think that life is simply temporary. There's a famous atheist, his name is Richard Dawkins, and he wrote a book called The God Delusion. And the book sold 3 million copies. Bestseller, New York bestseller. And he says, we're simply thrown together, we're simply a product of molecules bouncing together. There is no purpose. It's just a pitiless situation of life. He says, life is just pitiless and you have to make the best of it. And he also said, it looks like there's someone intelligent behind the universe, intelligent design. He said there seems to be intelligent design behind the universe. They've studied the cosmos, and these big astrophysicists, they discovered that the universe is very finely tuned. If the moon was just 0.01% heavier, there could be no life on planet Earth. If the sun had just moved a little bit, 1 degree away from where its ellipse is, its its movement is, the ellipse, then the planet would be, the universe would be out of harmony, and there would be no life on planet. So they're discovering these things. It says it seems that one famous astrophysicist, Fred Hoyle, said, it looks like someone out there is monkeying around with the universe. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matah sarvam pravartate iti matva badante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha matah sarvam mayata tamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani maite teshu chapyaham. He says that I'm spread in every atom. The Lord, by His spiritual potencies, His achintya guna, has inconceivable potencies. Anasaktasya vishayanyatarham upajunjitaha. Sarvasya shaktir vividhaiva shriyate. Swabhaviki jnana balakriyacha. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. The Lord is unlimitedly potent. You can't conceive of His potency. Why are you trying to, pigeonhole the Lord into your conceptions? He's beyond your conceptions. Atashi Krishna namadi nabhaved grayam indrai. Sevan mukhe hi jivado swayam eva sparatyada. No one, even the devotees of the Lord, even the great Mahajans can completely, even the gopis, they can't completely understand the mystic potency of the Lord. They cannot do it. The Lord is unlimitedly potent. And so he says, I'm in every atom. Maya tadamidam sarvam jagat adantaracha paramanacha. Lord Brahma says, He's in every atom. And He's between the atom. Therefore, by some coincidence, I guess, we're supplied with oxygen. We're supplied with all the necessary nutrients to sustain life. There's so many, what they call, elements that we require in our body: iron, zinc, potassium, all these various things, the elements. And, they discover these things. They've discovered all the various elements that are made up of various combination of atoms. Is it a coincidence? Just by chance? By chance we find ourselves here in the universe without any real purpose? No. So here the Lord, as being described here, Maharaj Parikshit wants to know, how is the Lord running the universe? How is He educating and edifying the human society? After all, when one comes through the 8,400,000 species of life, as Narottam Das Thakur said, one time I was eating mucus, another time I was eating stones. At one point I was a tiny little creature inside someone's stomach. It's called E. coli. Even the E. coli, the tiny bacteria, they have a soul. That's what bewildered. Prabhupada said their brains will perspire to produce one tiny bacteria. Their brains will perspire. So, coming to the human form of life, we must take responsibility to cultivate our love of God. The goal of human life, prima pramartha mahan, the goal of all activities, right? Dharma swanustita pumsam. If you don't develop your love for Krishna, for the supreme absolute truth, then shrama eva hi kevalam. Tanaham dushata kuram samsardeshu naradhamam. So naradhamas, Krishna says, 4 kinds of people don't surrender to me. Namam duskritina mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashritaha. These 4 rascals, they never surrender to me. One is the Naradham. Naradham are people, we see them all over the world. They go to the big universities, they get a degree. Oh, I have a degree. And they're very materially sophisticated. They can manipulate, they learn how to manipulate Krishna's material energy so they can fly from New York to Hong Kong and buy some chicken or something. It's all just material, eating ahara nidya bhaya maitunya in a sophisticated way. Very sophisticated, but it's the same thing. Ahara, nidya maitunya, and eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So, the goal of human life, Nayam Deho Bhajam Niloke Kastan Kaman Arhite. Rishabhadev tells his sons, of who Bharat Maharaj is the eldest, don't work like asses. Nayam Deho Bhajam Kastan Kaman Arhate. Don't work so hard for those pleasures which are available to the animals that eat stool, the pigs. I remember one time in Los Angeles, Hridayananda was giving this class, Sunday class, Sunday feast class. And there's tons of people at that time, a lot of people, hippies were coming to the temple in the early 70s for prasadam. And so he said, Nayam deho deha bacham riloke kastan kara arte vidbujam ye tapo divyam putraka yena sadvam sudyadhyasmat brahma sukam. He said, we shouldn't live this sophisticated life here in the West simply to live like pigs. And you could see the audience just like, you're calling us a pig? Yes, actually, svavid varahostra karai, samstuta purusha pashu nayat karna. If you don't want to hear this transcendental message of Sukadev Goswami, you're like a dog, a hog, an ass, or a camel. Although you have a PhD, peon highly developed. I have a PhD. You know, I know chemistry. I can play with stuff and make things, you know. But here you're condemned by Sukadev Goswami. If you don't develop this taste to hear the wonderful glories of Krishna, how he appears, his different incarnations, even as a Lord Varaha, as a hog, or as a fish, Matsya, or any of these incarnations, he appears innumerable times. We can't even imagine how many times Lord Krishna appears out of his compassion. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanamishvaropi san. And he appears amongst the fish, amongst the animals, amongst the human beings. He's appearing to uplift human society, right? Glanir bhavati bharata bhutanama dharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. He is out of his compassion because we're his mamai vamso jiva loke. We're his eternal parts and parcels. And he wants us to come back to the place where there's no birth, death, old age, or disease. There's no more taxes. No more taxes. Nice place. It's a beautiful place. Every year, you know, everyone's trying to avoid paying the tax. Sometimes they get caught. Like this. So this is what Parikshit Maharaj, he wants to hear. Please describe to me. So the devotees of the Lord, their hearts are filled with this transcendental nectar of the activities of the Lord. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. They want to hear about these wonderful activities of the Lord and his devotees also. So the Srimad Bhagavatam not only describes the Lord, but his relationship with his devotees. There's no such thing as the Lord without his devotees, and how he's interacting even with the demons. He's so merciful that when he kills the demons, like Shishupal, they go back to the, okay, you go back to the spiritual world. You're a demon, but anyway, I'm going to liberate. He's so merciful. So we want to know this knowledge, and therefore Krishna tells Arjuna in the 7th chapter, Rajavijay Rajagayam, Pavitram idam uttamam, Prakshaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Shishukam Kartum Avyam. That they, Namevidu, no one can know Krishna unless he surrenders to a bona fide representative of Krishna. Otherwise, he'll speculate. He'll speculate on the Vedas. He'll speculate on the Bhagavad Gita. Nami vidu suragana. Vedaham samatitani vartamani charjana vishani tibutani mamtu veda. I know everything in the past, the present, and the future, my dear Arjuna. I know everything. So why not go to Krishna through the agency of his representatives and find out the complete truth? How are all these planets working? Where did these planets come from? Who formed all these planets? In this 5th canto, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit, structure of the universe. There's planets surrounded by desi ghee. There's planets surrounded by milk. It's called Kusha Dweep or Krona Dweep, I forget. And then there's Plaksha Dweep. That's surrounded by liquor. And Jambu Dweep surrounded by salt water. And then Plaksha Dweep surrounded by sugarcane juice. And so on. Salma Dweep surrounded by liquor. How can you conceive of this? Impossible. And well, we don't see it with our Hubble telescope. Yeah, you have imperfect senses, you're in illusion. Krishna allows you to see what he wants you to see. Matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. He says, I'm in your heart, and I'm giving you knowledge and also ignorance. You want some ignorance? I'll give you ignorance here. You want to become a communist and atheist? Here, come on, I'll give you a big philosophy called Marxism. I'll give you a philosophy of evolution, Darwin's theory. Impossible, impossible that they say, we don't know how it works, but it happened because it's my belief, it's my religion. The religion of atheism, unfortunately, driving everyone into darkness. So the devotees of the Lord, we are always trying to relish the wonderful nectarian pastimes of the Lord, because then our hearts become full with the bliss and ecstasy of the Lord. Thus, to hear the activities of the Lord means to associate with the Lord directly. That they don't understand. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasavik. That the name of the Lord, he's so merciful, he's in his name, he's in his activities, he's in his form, he's in his instruction. So when you're reading the Bhagavad Gita, it's not just, I see. No, it actually is purifying your consciousness, because Krishna is there in his instruction. He's there when you hear about Mother Yashoda and telling Krishna, open your mouth, you're eating dirt. Krishna opens his mouth and shows her the entire universe within his mouth. And her hairs stand on end. According to Rupa Goswami, her hairs stood on end. Oh my gosh. When Arjuna saw the Virat Rup, also his hairs stood on end. It's the ecstatic symptoms of love of God. That's what we're after. We want some real nectar in life. Love of God. Soul is hankering after this nectar, this pleasure of love of God. And it takes enthusiasm, determination, and patience to get there. But we want to please the acharyas and the predecessor acharyas, the Goswamis, and our spiritual masters, so we can receive this mercy. The mercy is to have a taste for hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna, appearing in so many ways. Prabhupada said, everyone wants to hear about, martial arts, fighting. So therefore we have Mahabharata. We can hear about Krishna and intrigue. Want to hear about the intrigue. People are very cunning and crafty, and they try to deceive others. So everything's being enlightened, but in relationship to Krishna, we're hearing about conspiracies and duplicity and deceitfulness and murder, right? There's murder in the Mahabharata and so on. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, Parshuram was told to kill his own mother, like this. So we want to hear these things, but in relationship to Krishna, becomes totally spiritual. Dovetail everything to Krishna, it becomes spiritual. So these great Mahajans are giving us this wonderful transcendental descriptions of the Lord here in Srimad Bhagavatam, at the same time explaining how the Lord appears. He appears as a son of Devahuti, for example, and Kardama Muni, to give the Sankhya philosophy of the elements, the senses, 16 senses, working senses, knowledge acquiring senses, the various elements, the 8 material elements, the soul, the super soul, 26 in total. We want to know these things, how these things all combined, and also, well, what happens when I die? It's a big question. And people are all afraid of death. No one wants to die. No one's lining up, at the slaughterhouse, Yeah, how much is it? How much does it cost to die? No one's running to the, crematorium. Oh yeah, me next, please, please. No, people are afraid of this. So we have to give them this knowledge. Jara marana mokshayam, mama ashati ajitantiye. Te brahma tad vidu kritsna, adhyatma kamachakilam. That those who become Krishna conscious, they transcend, they step on the head of death, like Dhruva Maharaj. He stepped on the head of death personified, entered the Vaikuntha airplane, and went back home, back to Godhead, with Lord Krishna, with Vishnu. So this is what we want, to step on the head of death. How can you do this? Just surrender to the message of Srila Prabhupada and try to serve the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That even in this horrible age where no one's qualified, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his way from Puri to Vrindavan, and he went through Bengal. And he met the two Dabir Kash and Sakir Malik, the two brothers at that time. They were working for Hussein Shah, the emperor of Bengal. And many, many people were following him. Thousands of people were following him. And even the emperor of Bengal was saying, oh, he's a great prophet, he's a great prophet. And it's described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even those who blasphemed him, those who blasphemed Vaishnava, Siddhanta and the Vaishnavas, Chaitanya would endow them immediately with pure love of God. And he would even enter into the hearts of devotees like Nakula Brahmachari and the Sringananda Brahmachari and empower them to benedict others with pure love of God. So in this way, the entire area of Bengal was simply drowning in the ocean of love of God. Bhakti Rasam Rita Sindhu, Sindhu Bindu. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears and so merciful, so merciful. I don't care, you can blaspheme my devotee, anything, we don't care. I'm going to give you pure love of God. Go back to the spiritual world. You get a free pass. It's like getting a free meal ticket, Here's a free meal ticket, now you get a free meal. You get a free transference up to the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpa Vriksha Lakshmi, where there's no birth, no death, everything is touchstone. The Sarabi cows, they supply whatever you want, anytime. You just ask, I want to get some milk for Krishna right now. You don't have to wait till 6 o'clock, and milk the cow twice a day. No, they give unlimited. They can give anything. And the Kalpavriksha trees are supplying whatever you want to serve Krishna with. Everyone is serving and in love with Lord Krishna. That's what we're aspiring for in this Sankirtan movement. So he's very, very simple process. He's saying, Harinam, Harinam, Harinam. Simply chant the holy names of the Lord under the guidance of the spiritual master. Avoid the offenses. to the chanting of the holy name, the 10 offenses, engage with the great determination. In one sense, it's easy. In another sense, it's difficult. Therefore, Krishna says, Yachanchas ma drida vrataha, engaging with great determination. Failure is the pillar of success, as they say. So if one is struggling in his life with his mind, with his senses, that's normal. You've been here for billions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of lifetimes in these different material species, all these various species of life. Sarva yonishu kuntaya murtaya sambhavantiya tesham brahma mahadnyun aham bija pradapita. Krishna said, you want to enjoy? Okay, here, 8,400,000 ways to enjoy. You can eat, sleep, mate, and defend in so many ways. You can be a nice fly and, land on some stool and relish like Lord Indra, relishing stool, and Brahma comes, come on, Indra, you're the king of heaven. No, I'm having a good time with my, piglets, my little piglets, and enjoying the stool. That way we are enjoying this world, this deep, dark well of material life. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us such a nice, wonderful process to simply awaken this love of God is in our hearts. It's not, as Prabhupada says, not an artificial imposition on the mind. He says that in one of his descriptions of chanting the holy name. It's not an artificial imposition on the mind. You simply chant it and your heart becomes purified. As it says, Lord Krishna is dancing on your tongue and you want millions of ears to hear the holy name. And when the holy name enters into your heart, your mind becomes inert and your senses become inert also, inactive. They become purified. They're not hankering after sense gratification. So this is the purifying process by which we experience a higher taste. And that taste we experience is a little sample of love for Krishna, right? After Nishta, there's Ruchi. Ruchi means tasting the nectar of the holy name. It's full of nectar. But because we have jaundice, when we eat sugar and we have jaundice, what do we taste? It tastes bitter. And we keep eating the sugar, and slowly we start tasting, oh, it's very sweet. So the holy name is very sweet, but we're crippled. We're tasting, we think it's like poison. So Krishna says, Yattat agre vishameva parinami pranamritam. That in the beginning, that which tastes like poison, visha, but which later on becomes like nectar, tatsukam sat becomes smritam. That is happiness in the mode of goodness. And atma bhava svabhavajam, atma tattva svabhavajam. It is conducive to the path of self-realization, to cultivate the mode of goodness, to cultivate Krishna consciousness. May be a little struggle in the beginning. Sadhana bhakti, we have to be very regulated, control ourselves, wake up early, don't sleep in, control the tongue, control the mind, the tongue, the belly, all the senses. And gradually we develop this taste, rasavarjam rasopyasya, the higher taste, Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here because it's 7 minutes before the class will be terminated. We can ask some questions. Hare Krishna. Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a nice class.
Thank you for listening.
Prabhuji, in the lecture and in the scriptures, Lord Vishnu and Lord Narayan, they are actually mentioned. Lord Vishnu and Lord Narayan. My query is that both are the same synonymous, or is there any difference? Because both have 4 hands, both are holding Sankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. So Vishnu and Narayan, is there any different or same?
Achintya Beta Beta Tattvam. Simultaneously one and different. There's so many different forms of Vishnu. You have Vishnu with 8 arms. I mean, Lord Nrsingadev appeared, he had hundreds, it's described, he had hundreds of arms. Narayan, Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. These are just like one candle is Krishna. He's the original candle. From him you have Baladev. Then you have Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan. Then from Sankarshan you get Maha-Vishnu. In the Vaikuntha planets you have unlimited Vaikuntha planets. On each planet there is a Lord Narayan. Or you can say Vishnu, interchangeable, simultaneously one and different. That's our philosophy. It's inconceivably, Krishna's Achintya Guna is inconceivably, simultaneously one and different. So you can say Lord Narayan, you can say Lord Vishnu, and they're interchangeable. The Purusha avatars, like Karanadaksha Vishnu, he has a particular task, a particular assignment. He breathes the universes out from his pores. And one breath is how long? The life of Lord Brahma, 311 trillion years. Solar years, not Swargaloka years. That would be much shorter. But this is how time is relative, as Albert Einstein said. Relativity, it's all relative. But when we connect with Krishna, then whatever we need to know, we know. One person challenged Srila Prabhupada. Okay. He asked him, how many windows are in that skyscraper? Prabhupada said, how much water is there in an illusion? How much water is there in a mirage? He said, how much water is there in a mirage? That was his answer. When they asked him this question, you know everything? You think you know everything? I said, how much water is there in a mirage? Like this. So whatever the great sages, their knowledge is perfect because they're 100% in contact with Krishna, and they're Trikalagya. They know past, present, and future. If you want to ask them how many molecules, how many atoms in the tree outside, it's like, how much water is there in a mirage? It's irrelevant to the real questions of life. Anyway, Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, Lord Krishna in the form of Vishnu, expansion of Shiradaksha Vishnu, is in everyone's heart, in every atom, and between every atom. That's how he runs the universe. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti. Akshena, he's a supervisor, running things. And he's in the heart of all the demigods. It's millions of demigods, he's in their heart, giving them directions. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye. He's telling Lord Brahma, okay, now I want you to create. And he has to do tapasya and generate all the species of life. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank
I
you.
believe today is the anniversary of the incorporation of ISKCON by Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, is it?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's today. Would your grace kindly speak a few words about this?
Yeah, okay. It's probably in Prabhupada Lilamrita where Prabhupada gathered in the beginning, 26 2nd Avenue in New York. He brought his new followers, Brahmananda, Gargamuni, and then he got one person who was a lawyer, and he established a board of trustees, and he established International Society for Krishna Consciousness, headquarters, 26 2nd Avenue, New York. How big was it? 20 feet by 20 feet? I met a person, he's from New York, but I met him in where my temple is in Canada, Vancouver. And he was a hippie, but somehow he had shifted over to the west side of the continent. He said, yeah, I met Prabhupada. Really? He said, yeah, long before the movement started. And he was sitting on a bench in a park in New York. And I was a hippie, and I went up to him, and he was a very interesting looking person, it's a Swami from India. And Prabhupada said, there are so many temples. He was sitting there, no money, no followers. There are many, many temples, many devotees, many books, huge empire will manifest. And he was telling him this, and this person, I met him, and he was still a hippie, and he was very poor. And he was telling me the story that he met this Swami who told him about this future movement of Lord Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu, predicting it. So, yeah, Prabhupada knew, okay, I'm establishing the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in the service of my spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He ordered me to create this international movement where, predicted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you will have people from all various countries dancing and chanting with each other. Now we have Russians and Americans dancing with each other. Yeah, this is the real United Nations. In the farm I lived in Canada, one Mataji, her husband is Pakistani, from Pakistan. He was a Muslim. And they're both chanting Hare Krishna. But India and Pakistan, they've had some problems. So this is the real United Nations. United Nations can only come through this, Prabhupada said in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktiram Yagitapasam, that verse. The peace formula is to understand who Krishna is, the object of all sacrifice, the supreme proprietor. You're not the proprietor, God is the proprietor. When they asked Prabhupada, why did you come to the West? Why did you come to London, England? We have religion here. Prabhupada said, I came to teach you what you have forgotten. You have forgotten how to serve God. Oh yeah, I believe in God. What does that mean? Well, God gave us cows to eat. He gave us cigarettes to smoke. He gave us alcohol to drink. He gave us sense gratification. He's our order supplier. God, give me more money so I can gratify my senses. I can, have a big yacht, and I can go on the yacht with all these wonderful people, beautiful people, and enjoy my senses. Thank you, God. I said, I come to teach you what you have forgotten. Vairagya Vijja Nija Bhakti Yoga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message of Vairagya Vijja Nija Bhakti Yoga. So it's 9 o'clock, time to stop. If you have any more questions, save it for next time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.